All right. Welcome to another episode with the Four Elements. I'm your boy Earth.
And I'm water.
And when
I'm fire.
It's good that fire went last because this is going to be a fire show tonight. Tonight, we are going to discuss are you, what about you, dating by chance? When you're dating, are you rolling the dice? Are you living in a world of hope? Are you selling hope dreams? Are you hoping that hopes? So what we got tonight is a really deep discussion about dating by chance. How do we date? We will say like we date purposefully. We date with intentions. We date with all these things, but underneath all of that, we are hoping that it works out. And when it doesn't work out, we feel some kind of way about that. And so one of the things we don't look at is let me back up a little bit. I'm gonna show why we date by hope. That's what I want to do. I want to discuss. Yeah, what you got?
No, go ahead, unpack that thing for him, Earth.
Oh, okay. So I want to touch on something really quick, just kind of set the stage. So I was doing a little research, and so I pulled up like what are some things that women find attractive in men? What are some things that men find attractive in women? All of this is centered around hope by chance that you get all these things, right? So there's some things that women find attractive in men are leadership and initiative, a sense of humor, passion and ambition, a sense of style, confidence, good listening skills, kindness and empathy, financial security and height. Like those are just a few things that women find attractive. We know we've heard about some other things that women may find attractive, but that was like in the top list. It's like the top 8 or whatever. If I'm gonna look at a couple of them, I'm gonna discuss a few things that men find attractive in women, and then we're just gonna dive right in. Okay. So a few things men find attractive about women. It's women who are soft-heartedness, who have soft-heartedness, who are modest, they have character, a woman's voice, facial features like her smile, her lips, her eyes, even her eyebrows. Some of y'all be drawing them things on and looking like the golden arches instead of eyebrows. You know what I'm talking about. A woman's hair and, some physical features like height, skin tone, the BMI, waist to chest ratio, waist to hip ratio. So those are some of the things that men look at. And so I want to just pause right there, just really quick, and check in with the elements before we, really go deep, because we about to go down. When I say down, we're going down this rabbit hole tonight. What y'all got?
All stuff. All this. Look at the single dudes, quiet. Look at them. The married. Look, I guess it's apropos for the married guy to go first, because I actually have something to say, being the only one that's been in a relationship for more than 20 years. So right off the bat, or thank you for setting the stage with regards to what both genders find attractive, because I think that's important. But what I saw as you were going down the list, I was like, let me take notes. So I missed a lot of the male traits, but what I can tell you in terms of what women find attractive in men, there were a bunch of intangibles on there, right? I think you mentioned height, but other than that, I would say 90% of what women find attractive, or why women are attracted to men, were intangibles. Contrast that to the list that you went through regarding what men find attractive in women. Golly, man, we are superficial creatures. Suffice it to say, we are superficial creatures. That was my first observation. I'm gonna pass the mic to the dudes who's out there actually dating people, and I want to hear if they actually feel like it's pretty much spot on or it's a bunch of bull.
Well, hold on. So do you disagree with the, okay, so you think that you think that men, as a group are shallow, superficial, do you disagree with the list of the things that are attracted, that you're attracted to in your wife?
Great question. So I'm glad you asked me that question because I'm prepared, brother. I'm prepared,
Look,
brother.
he came with an answer to that before. Look, you cheated because you knew what the topic was going to be, but it's all good.
No,
we love men who are married, and we want you to go ahead and show us how it's done.
So look, when Earth said men are attracted to women who are soft, modest, women of high character. Sometimes it's the voice or the vibration in the voice, the softness or the sensuality, the femininity in the voice. You talked about features, lips, eyes, nose, jawline. You talked about her smile. You talked about her hair, her height, skin tone, and her measurables, hip to waist, waist to breast, all that good stuff. I think those things are true for me. For me, they are true. They'll get you a ticket to the dance, but that don't mean you're not gonna get your butt kicked up out the club. So for me, that there has to be a physical attraction from the outset. For my wife, there was a physical attraction from the outset. All those things are true, but then there was a deeper element. We'll get into that in a minute when we start talking about pheromones and things of that nature. There is something at the biological level, biochemistry level, that I couldn't stop from happening, like a moth to a flame. All right. So to answer your question, Water, in short, yes, it's true, but it's only gonna get you a seat at the table. Doesn't mean you're gonna get to stay.
All I heard is that you're just as superficial as the rest of us. That's all I wanted to know. That's all I wanted to know. Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's all. You gave the long-winded version of, yes, I'm superficial, just like the rest of you guys.
The conscious version.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, I'm with Fire. I mean, hey, listen. I don't know what it is about men. Maybe we are just physically oriented beings, just the way that it is. But yeah, that list that is a list. I didn't take notes. I was just kind of listening and what Fire recapped. Yeah, I can say that it definitely does initiate the attraction phase. However, I think this is true for both men and women, like gender regardless. Once you like what Fire was saying, once you are actually in a relationship with someone, it doesn't matter how good they look. They could, we've all been with very beautiful women who you're just like, man, that like this does not work.
It's horrible.
Yep. Toss her back.
So yeah, I agree with what Water is saying. Fire. Men and women are superficial. I mean, all of us are animals, right? But the thing that actually keeps us is the things that are above the animal realm, right? That's what actually gets you married and keeps you in the door.
That's facts.
Family man. So you bring up a good point. This is great because this is the road that I want to go down. When you say that, and this is my argument on this. This is my view. You say it keeps us above the animal realm. However, animals do a much better job of selecting than we do. That's my based upon like some research I've done and just looking at the animal kingdom. Because when it comes to dating, and this is like we're actually skipping because that's some things I want to talk about in the middle, but you went there. When it comes to dating, when it comes to selecting a mate, there's some things that are built into the human being that actually drive us to having or choosing a good mate. And some of the things we don't take into consideration that actually drive us. Of course, like men, like we'll see all of these physical traits, we see all of these things. Women will see what they see, but we're what's underneath all of it that is driving us is actually procreation and bringing forth offspring who could carry on the next generation, who carry on your genetics. And many times we leave that out of the picture. We don't consider that. And so we don't know what we're bringing into this world. Because if you look at that list is based upon, I argue, it's not even a lot of times what we would choose ourselves. It's based upon what someone else said. Oh, this is what men like. This is what women like. And if you looked at a comprehensive list, I'm sure that comprehensive list is extremely long, and there are a lot of people on there who don't like those top things. They're not interested in that at all. And I can say for me, when I am selecting someone to date, I like a woman's mind. So that's the things I think about. If she has like a great mind, if she's very intellectual, if she can think outside the box, like that is attractive to me. Extreme, and it supersedes how someone looks. But to Fire's point, those other things will get you a ticket to the dance. But when we go beyond that, if you don't measure up, it's a wrap. It is truly a wrap. And so I want to just take a step back just a little bit. We actually go out, and the way that we select a mate is so far to the right. It's so far to the right. I argue that we do new age selecting is what we do. Because if you look at many countries around the world, and I'm a huge proponent of what I'm going to say, I'm a huge proponent of arranged marriages. I'm a huge proponent of that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when selecting a mate, we're going to select a mate based upon that list. That's our selection criteria. But who knows us better than usually, not better than, in a lot of ways we can't even see ourselves, because when we're going out looking, we have this standardized list that we're check. Our family members, especially parents, because they raised us. And so they can actually go out and do a much better job of selecting someone for you who is actually a match for you, based upon a criteria that will create a relationship or marriage that is lasting, and it's not based upon how you feel. It's not based upon love. It's not based upon this romantic anything. It's based upon what is best for you, based upon who you are, based upon bringing two people together, based upon what kind of children are you going to bring into this world in order to carry on your genes to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation. And so I'm a huge fan of arranged marriages. So I'm gonna put a pin right there before I go forward. What y'all got on that? And wait, before you say anything, just to kind of drive it home just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit. Do you know globally? So I'm gonna just really discuss our marriage and divorce rates just really quick. So in the US, 2.4 million people get married per year. 42 to 45% of marriages in the US end in divorce, period. Globally, there are 26 million marriages per year globally. The divorce rate globally, y'all ready for this, is 4% globally. And that is attributed to the majority of the world marry based upon an arrangement. And I'm not saying an arrangement where it's forced. The majority of arranged marriages, each person, the male and the female, they actually can choose whether or not they want to move forward or not. So they actually choose at the end of the day. So it's not, the majority of the time it's not forced. The time that it's forced is a small percentage of the time where you just don't have a choice. You're going to marry, and that's it, period. India, For example, 90% of marriages in India are arranged. Their divorce rate is 1%. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And other reasons, not just because it's arranged. We will say in Western culture, when you marry someone, you marry that person, and that's it. I've been married. That's the biggest lie ever. When you marry that person, you marry their family. Even though we reject that and we say, nah, this is who I love, this is who I marry. Y'all don't have anything to do with it. Leave the families out. But when you look at cultures where marriages actually work, you're a part of the family. The family helps keep the marriage together. And so in my view, we have it all backwards. Period. What y'all got?
I would say I would agree that we have it backwards. I would say that we don't have it at all because, you know, what I hear from you is that we've lost our culture. We've lost our way, period. And devoid of that, you know, that is certainly the causation or material in the fact that we have high divorce rates, particularly in the African American Black community.
What you got over there, Fire?
Well, man, there's a lot banging around in my head right now. Being a married person, I won't say there's no possibility or probability that I would ever become a divorced person, but I just don't see it. And I'm thinking about specifically Earth, like why I got married. Why did I court my wife in the first place? And inside of my thought stream, it really was an innate process. It wasn't something that I set out to do. It was I spoke on it earlier. There was like a pull that was beyond my comprehension to one another, right? It started off as friends, and then I got a whiff of those pheromones, and like it was a wrap. Like when I fell for her as my homie, and then I felt like I had been with her before. Like I felt like we've been together in previous lives, and there was nothing that was going to stop us from being together. Kind of like the movie Hancock. If you saw Hancock, if you remember the lady, the superhero that he was sort of attached to, twin flames or whatever, soulmates or whatever you want to call it, whatever language you want to give it. I'm just saying how it occurred for me because there wasn't a conscious thing and there was no arranged marriage from our parents. As a matter of fact, we got married, didn't even tell our parents. I didn't even ask for her dad's hand in marriage. It's one of the things that I regret. Rest in peace, Hill. Not doing that, but it was something energetic. It was something chemical. It was something spiritual. It was deeper than anything else that I can describe. And I'm contrasting that to what I see in the world, elements and elementals. You know, you was talking about it during the pre-show, Earth, where you was talking about people dating because they find another person attractive, or they want to shoot up the club, or they want to. The ego wants to claim that person for themselves, or some people date from a financial perspective where it's about a merger, an acquisition and a merger of two people who's getting to a major bag, or for a myriad of other reasons. And apparently it's not going so well in the West, and it's working better in nations and countries where arranged marriages are still the norm and tradition. I just find it all very fascinating. So I'm curious to hear from Wynn and Water on that.
Well, you know, like I would like to hear what everybody else, like who's watching. We have a bunch of people streaming. I want to hear in the comments what you guys think about arranged marriage, because that was one thing that Earth said that he's a big proponent of. And oh man, I have to be honest, man. You know, like my Western mind, just when I hear that, I'm like, nah, man, I don't know what Earth is talking about. Like, I have to be honest, man. I'm like, bro, what is this? What did this guy smoke before we started, man? He's like, yo, arranged marriages are it. And my whole thing is just that it really, for me, that comes to when I think about it, the control. It's almost like I would feel out of control if that were like if I were to have a marriage that was arranged. And even if I had the choice, I would probably find a reason to discount that person because I'm like, nah, I mean, I didn't choose that person. Now, that's different than like, hey, we want to introduce you to this person so you can start dating this person, as opposed to, hey, we found a potential wife candidate for you. That's like, whoa, that's big. And so in my mind, that's the way that it works. And I'm just thinking out loud when I heard you say that. I was like, wow. We went to arranged marriages. I didn't anticipate that when we talked about, are you dating? And he's like, here are arranged marriages. I don't know, when would you, how would you respond if your family came to you and said, hey, we've arranged a marriage for you?
Well, let me just say this is that, independence and freedom is the American way, right? That's the culture here. And so when you talk about arranged marriages, you're talking about people that have loved you and that have reared you, all throughout your life. They know you from all sorts of angles. They know you and see you probably better than you see yourself. And so what they're looking at is somebody of the opposite sex that would probably potentially be the perfect match for you. And they could probably make a better decision for you than you can actually make for yourself, because you would most likely be, in your feelings about a lot of stuff, or, emotionally or sexually heightened about the whole process, right? Sex, and infatuation, those emotions and those feelings oftentimes, impede us from making proper and rational decisions. And so they're making, the very best decision for you. Now, I get that you might not want to be obligated to marry that person. I totally get that. But they get, your friends and family can certainly be beneficial in you choosing a proper spouse. I do believe that.
Hey man, I love what you said. However, I asked you a question and you did the politician thing on me, man.
So
politician, you did the politician thing on me. I said you, not in out in the ether.
People.
So the unfortunate thing is that here in the U.S., I mean, we've all been adversely impacted by this American way, this Western way, right? And so if I were to answer that question, I would be like, hell no, because I don't trust it. Even though I love my friends, I love my family, I don't trust their damn decision making. You know what I mean? I trust I trust some of their decision making, right? But not to the extent that they can obligate me to a long marriage. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be that.
I think the thing is when we consider the question, water and earth, is that we have to delete, like Men in Black, that little zapper, Will had a little buzz. We have to erase our whole entire construct of marriage and our whole entire construct of how marriage occurs. So when you grow up in an environment where you come into this world and it's already written, the culture, it's in the fabric and the DNA of the people and their ways. It's how we do things, right? Which is culture. You grow up, you find your trade or your profession, you get educated and skilled in that domain, and then you take on a wife at a particular age. Like, that's what you do. There is no alternative in those environments. And so those young men are growing up with that expectation. Those young women are growing up with that expectation. And there's trust in the elders in the room to, as the point you made, when is they kind of know a little, they might know a little bit more about me than I know about myself, but they might know better than I know for myself. In addition to that, there is no option or alternative for divorce, or that is very, very rare. So they don't enter into this agreement or this contract thinking that this is some boyfriend and girlfriend kind of situation, that I can just avoid this contract and rip it up. Like, this is a for life thing in their mind's eye, and they make it work. They grow to love each other or not. But nonetheless, they build something that's legacyable, and they stay together by and large to the tune of greater than 96%.
Yeah, but I mean, look, that's a great stat. I love that stat. However, we're equating low divorce rate with high happiness rate. So, these people could just be like, yo, I'm stuck, and, like, I might as well get me something to drink or smoke, because I'm going to self-medicate myself or whatnot. So, I mean, like, I definitely agree that with everything that, has been said about arranged marriage, it's just that, I mean, have we polled these people to find out if they truly are like living a fulfilled life doing that, or are they just like doing duty? That's my question.
I bet there's a study out there to answer that question. And while other people are talking, I'm gonna go get it.
I bet you Earth already has it. Like, he's the researcher of the group. He's like, well, now that you mentioned it, 43.7%. Go ahead, man. I know you got that, Earth. Come on.
So I don't have the percentage of people, but I do have people who've been interviewed, like their interviews. And reality is the same thing, the same complaints that we have here within marriage are the same complaints that exist within arranged marriages. They're no different. The primary difference that I notice is the level of commitment to a higher goal or higher purpose outside of, am I happy? Well, I'm happy because I say so. Not because of some circumstance that exists. The only person who dictates my happiness is me, period. No one else dictates that for me. And so when you look at, when I did the research and I looked at those marriages and I looked at, the things that they discuss, the things that they the complaints they have, you sit them next to our complaints, you'll see that the reality is there's really no difference in the complaints. It's just the level of commitment that exists. No one says, because I am not happy, period, then I'm going to get a divorce. The commitment is totally different. So it's a point of view going into the marriage. To your point, Fire, the point of view is different. Not going in, I hope we don't get divorced. That's not even a thought that exists around getting divorced for them. It's not even a conversation. Like when I have conversations with, because I travel back and forth to the continent quite often, and when I have these conversations, for example, with elders and other people who are married, divorce is not even an option, and it is easier to get divorced. In Ghana, for example, to get divorced is to just, you divorce. You walk away. There's no courts, there's no this, there's no that. No, it doesn't exist at all. But there's a family structure involved to help you to maintain and stay within your marriage. And I'm going to go a little deeper into that also, because that's another aspect. So there's certain aspects that exist within these arranged marriages that I didn't mention. I intentionally didn't mention just to see what you all's point of view was off the riff. Because there's some elements that exist that help hold and help bind these marriages and help them stay together. So cut it right there. What you got?
No, that's perfect. That's a great dovetail, because just a quick scan of Google and everything that's out there in the Google verse. The comment,
a little unscientific study here.
That's right. All qualitative. low R square is null, like there's no validity to it whatsoever, no statistical significance.
Right.
However, the talk thread is that arranged marriages lead to happier relationships because, and Earth said this earlier, he probably cheated on the homework. He cheated on his homework, not on his ex-wife, because people who are in arranged marriages tend to work and put more effort into making them work. It's really not rocket science, guys. It says that
Right.
Western people have this romanticism around the dating and courting process in these celebrity-like relationships, which have only metastasized and exponentially in the day and age of social media. All right, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, like watching these celebrity couples look good, work out together, travel together. And now all of a sudden, your dude who works at the 5 and 10, as my grandma would say, your dude who works at Woolworths or as a garbage man, could be a teacher, it could be whatever the case may be, an accountant. All of a sudden, he ain't good enough. All these years, Harold held it down. But since people's on Instagram and whatnot, living it up, buying you gifts, doing big reveals and whatnot, gender reveals, and all of a sudden it has to be a show. When your man's not a showman, he's not a man. That's where we are, and that's dangerous. Not to take this conversation down another rabbit hole. Hopefully we can circle back to it because it's a real thing.
Win, what you got?
I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of foolishness that's going on, but I want to hold this conversation to higher level things so we can, talk about being intentional and deliberate about things, going from the lower self to a higher self, because at this point, here in America and in the diaspora, there's not, there are some arranged marriages, but, we just simply have to do better with our choices and our decision making.
Yeah. So, for example, too, that's a good point. So, in the U.S., 4% of marriages are arranged. Just so you know. So, it does exist here, but it's a very, very, very small percentage, on like 4%.
Wow. Do any of you know any U.S. straight up, like not second generation, but I mean like just straight up like Americans that whose parents aren't immigrants from one of those countries that you mentioned that are high? Like, because I don't know anyone who's had an arranged marriage. I've never heard of that.
Mm-mm.
I guess 4% is kind of low, so we probably wouldn't. That's a low number.
It's all the people in Utah.
Yeah, so maybe in Utah that might be it, but I don't.
Maybe in Cali. Who knows? Who knows where it's happening?
Yeah. I mean, there are intentional communities throughout the U.S. that have arranged marriages. Like people, maybe the Amish, or maybe people out west. And
there are some Orthodox or devout Muslims who still practice that.
Native Americans here.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do is take a peek at why. Like there's some factors in place that actually have these marriages work. Number one is family involvement. When you have the family committed to your marriage working, that's a totally different way to exist within a marriage. When you have commitment of family, that's one. Two, when a woman marries into a family, there's the concept of daughter-in-law is actually a very Western concept. When a woman marries into the family, she becomes the daughter of that family and is treated no differently than a biological daughter. That's a totally different way to be within a marriage itself. Thirdly, there's something that takes place in most arranged marriages globally that we don't even remotely consider at all. those parents will actually go to some type of spiritual elder first to find out whether or not the person that they are picking for their son or daughter is someone who is a match for them. They'll take a look and see whether or not this person's personality, their way of being, is a match for their potential mate. They'll take a look at the difficulties that they may have in the marriage in the future. They look at whether or not the marriage will actually last with this person, whether or not they can endure one another. So those are factors that are looked at that we don't consider those things at all, period. We don't, that's not even a concept for us to do something like that. We don't, and thirdly, fourth, third, whatever, there's a whole vetting process that goes on. And I always laugh when we say, oh, we need to vet the person. And our vetting is very, very, very surface, it's very shallow. They meet the family of the other person on the front end, not after 2 years. And if that family, for example, has a history of mental illness, that's a no pass. It is not going to pass at all. No. They find out all these things on the front end. That's what vetting is. Vetting, it does include it, but service vetting is finding out, oh, what they do for a living, oh, how much money they make, oh, all these other surface things. The things that matter in the long run, if that family has a history of like anything that is like mental illness, for example, the family takes that into consideration and says, guess what? We don't want to bring that or introduce that into our bloodline because it produces children who are insufficient. It produces children who are possibly inferior and who don't have the capacity to carry on the family name or whatever standards are set for the family. Those are considerations that are taking place. We do not consider those things. Fifth thing, love is not a consideration. It is not. You don't have to love someone. This whole, and somebody, I think Fire mentioned earlier, this romantic thing, it does not exist at all. No. It is taking all those other factors into consideration. Those are the things that bring a couple together, period. And I know of people who are in arranged marriages. I know these people. I know of people, and I've actually seen this whole dynamic play out. And in six, we are allowed too much time to go out into the world and play. In most cultures in the world, there is no such thing as dating. Dating is actually a very new concept. Even here in the US, in the West, it's a new concept. I know people who've met and they got married 2 months later. But the parents brought them together, or even people who've actually met just out looking for a mate, but they don't live here in the States at all. And after 2 to 3 months, they're married, period. Because they went through the process. Those families met each other on the front end. They went to go have a divination or reading or whatever to take a look to see whether or not these people are a match for one another. That's why I say we date by chance. We don't gather enough information at all to really make an informed decision as to whether this person is a good match for me. Take those things into consideration first, based upon data, and analyze the data that you've gotten, doing proper vetting, then you can make an informed decision based upon accurate information. That's why we get into marriages and say the person changed. No, they always been the same. Nope, I promise you, they didn't change. Nothing about them changed at all. We just didn't properly vet. We didn't have an informed decision. And it's how we're raised. We're not raised to be married. We're raised to be single. How many times have you all heard, going out there and enjoy yourself before you get married? Make sure you choose right. Date before you get married. We've all heard that. So so you can choose properly. At the end of the day, if you look back at your dating life, you didn't have to do that. You pretty much dated the same type of woman from the time you really started seriously dating. There's not a whole lot about her, about the woman that's actually changed. Now she may be a little 5750, but 5750, that means like you're functionally crazy. She may be functionally crazy, or he may be functionally crazy. However, the things underneath all that, when you look at them, they're actually the same across the board. We don't really have to go out and date 50 million people to decide whether or not this is a good person, because we actually end up with pretty much the same person all the time. Like for me, if a woman is passive, nah, that's an X off the bat, period. It's not gonna fly. So I didn't have to go around and date 20 million passive women to see whether or not that'll work. But anyway, I can talk about this all night. Let me move it over, turn it over to the elements. What y'all got?
That was a lot. Fire.
Let me say this is that the reason if you have a shallow expected, if the outcome that you expect is shallow, and your foundation and it's in and of itself is paper thin, right? So you can't win, in that regard anyway. It's not, you're not gonna have longevity. A lot of people expect longevity, and their house, their foundation is built on sand. That's number one. The second thing is that, when you were providing those descriptions, the first thing that I thought about was that, there are some people here in America and in the West that actually do marry with that intentionality and do have those processes. And guess who those people are? Those people are the wealthy, the 1%. Now, if you do if you delve into their processes, you'll see the correlation. Now, the reason why I bring that up is that because, we don't have generational wealth. Our culture is gone. You know what I mean? And so if those two are true, then our marriages are gonna, dwindle and win.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that Wynn brings up about the wealthy, and how they have that same mentality. However, I think that what I'm really hearing is that you don't have to have an arranged marriage to actually incorporate some of this into your what we call dating. What you said doesn't work. What you said doesn't really exist. Earth, the dating, you can incorporate those things into it. And the biggest thing that I heard, and I saw it in the comments, there's a couple of people who mentioned this. I'm going to just pop them up on the screen. Quaylen had this comment earlier, and someone else had another comment about family. Oh, here it is right here. I think this was the biggest one. Yeah, Quaylen was really, really in there. And I've heard Earth say this before in some of our offline conversations, is that, when you are meeting someone and you're dating them, and you have to realize that you're not marrying just them. You're marrying their family too. And I think that one of the big things that I'm hearing in this whole thing is a takeaway, if you will, from this conversation, is that people can actually take that understanding into whatever their relationship is. I mean, you may be in a relationship right now. You're like, you know what? Wow, it just dawned on me. Here's the aha moment that I've had. Yeah. So I just think that if you can incorporate that into your life and understand that, hey, I may have to, or there's no may, I need to be part of these people's family to see if this is a partner that I can have and I can actually be part of that family. And like you said, Earth, can I incorporate them into my bloodline? Do I want to bring that into my bloodline? And do I want to be around do I want this to be my family as well? Because it does become your family once you're married, or maybe you're not married and you just in a long-term relationship, or however that works. Like, it does become your family, and you have to realize that you're not just dating them, you're dating their family. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, some of us do, go along some of those items, but it's just not, the fabric has been eroded, and so the process has been eroded. We just need to get back to that. But the unfortunate thing is that, say for instance, I wanted to get married tomorrow, right? I can't count on necessarily the people around me because of the place where they are in their lives to make those decisions. They can help in the process, but it wouldn't be to the extent it would be like a traditional arranged marriage. So the question is, how do we, given where we are, what do we do about that? How do we get back to that process, or manage it in a different way that actually gets a positive result?
Mm-hmm.
Let me jump in, because I thank you for the tee up, Win, because I think it's important for us to take this conversation out of the theoretical, ethereal, philosophical realm and make it personal. There's 3, by definition, single brothers that are on this panel. And so my question to you, Element brothers of mine, is, because when I think about everything Earth said, I'm thinking about being a shorty or a young man or a young woman growing up into this construct of marriage. But the reality of it is most of our viewers, including yourselves, are over the age of 35, a lot over the age of 40. And this whole idea of building a kingdom and bringing children into the world, that ship is sailing right now, or it's already sailed. And so when you remove the family construct, the nuclear family concept from the conversation, then what becomes the value of marriage? Because that is where you all are and where a lot of our viewers are right now in real time. So the question I have for you, we'll start with Earth, is do you want to get married? Why or why not? And what are you looking to gain? If so, what are you looking to gain from that contract, that agreement?
Excellent
question. Y'all not gonna dodge these direct questions fire today.
So the answer to that question is yes. I do want to get married. I've been married before, and I think marriage is phenomenal. I love being married. It's great. So I'm a huge proponent of marriage. Why do I want to get married, or why would I want to get married? Because I'm very clear that you can be there's 2 levels of wholeness. There's a level of individual wholeness. And so you can be whole, you can be complete as yourself. But within the context of a marriage, it brings about a whole nother dynamic of wholeness, a whole nother dynamic of security that you can't imagine would exist outside of the confines of a marriage. You can't even speculate on it until you experience it. And so it's a totally different dynamic that's brought. There's a level of peace that you have within the context of a marriage. I don't care how peaceful you say you are outside of a marriage, but within a marriage, there's a level of peace that is unmeasurable as a single person. And you can say, oh, well, you know, sometimes you have issues in marriage. You have issues as a single person. And so there are things that come with being married that you cannot obtain as a single person. And I'm going to take it even a step further. You can't even obtain that you can't even get there as someone. And this is only within our Western construct, as someone who is in a committed relationship, because there's something magical that happens when you're with someone and you make that type of commitment. I'm not talking about the lies that we make, that we say, because I was going to talk about that later. We lie to each other, you know, doing whatever the vows we make. I'm saying outside the vows that we make. But there's a certain level of commitment that you make to someone, and you're making that commitment publicly, however that looks. That's something that you can't, they not selling it and you can't buy it, period. Because I remember the moment I got married, because before I got married, my ex-wife and I, we lived together, blah, blah, blah. So that's how I know even living together in a committed relationship it doesn't measure up to a marriage. The very moment that I married her, I was very clear. And I took it on. It's like a very natural response that I was 100% responsible for this woman. I didn't sit there and think about my role or anything. It was something that just happened like that. And so there are things when you're within a marriage, you can't buy that outside. You can't manufacture that outside of the confines of a marriage itself. And what's the third? Yes, the third question. What was that one?
Well, you kind of answered it in everything you just said, because it was so do you want to get married, right?
Yeah.
And if you do, what were you looking for inside of it?
Okay, got
it. And you just expounded upon all that part. So Water, you're up, bud.
You just called on people, huh? Like I forgot I had an appointment, guys. I mean, it's hey.
You're up. No. Hope your girlfriend can hear me.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So answer to number one. Hey, listen, Earth. What you said, man, it was beautiful. It was poetic. It really was. And I respect everything that you said and like the way you delivered it. I, on the other hand, am just not so sold on marriage. It sounds like you have a poetic view of it, and I think that that's beautiful. For me, I mean, I could be married and I could not be married. I'm not like, it sounds like Earth, you have a definitive, yes, I want to be married. Fire, we already know, is like, he is the champion for marriage. Okay. He's the, we could give you a nickname. We can give you a nickname. I don't know what yeah, there you go. We could give you a nickname, but we know that both of we know that both of you are really I guess proponents of marriage. Me, on the other hand, I honestly, my take on marriage is this: you can have a committed relationship without marriage, and you can have a super uncommitted relationship within a marriage. So to me, I think that what Earth said is very, very true about commitment. Like when you get married, some people just automatically, there's a light switch that goes off. And I think that, to me, the bigger thing is, how do you actually wrap your brain around commitment, and how do you get committed? So I personally am not looking for marriage. I am looking for commitment, and I'm looking for myself to actually be committed. I guess this is the third part of your answer.
What are you looking to build? That was the third question. What are you looking to build?
Yeah. So I am looking to build something where I'm committed to someone and they're committed to me, and we just know that, right? Like, to me, that is what I'm looking to build, as well as as well as an equal partnership, right? We had this whole conversation about the alpha, beta, and all that stuff, where it was talking about just unbalanced relationships where either the man was really dominant over the woman or the woman was really dominant. But for me, I'm looking for that balance, right? For where I'm lacking, like I can actually find that person who actually fills me in where I'm lacking. That's where I am with it. Win, you're up, buddy. Or actually, you know what? Fire. How about you call on Win? Let me let you do that.
So Win, let me restate the question, because I know you got to get present to it. So, do you want to get married? If so, what's your reasoning, and what do you want to build inside of that context?
It's my personal view that the deterioration of our community is a function of the deterioration of marriages and togetherness. I think that we are messes alone. Absolutely, and we created messes being alone and individuals, and we continue that in a horrible way. The fact of the matter is that regardless to what men or women say, we absolutely need one another for certain. So, marriage and commitment, relationships, foster accountability and responsibility. And that requirement forces people to elevate who they are and become way better people than they were when they were individuals and when they were youthful. And so I am definitely a proponent of a committed relationship. Definitely a proponent. If that yields a marriage, a legal marriage, by all means. I don't think that that's necessarily required, but certainly committed relationship as Water described. Now, for me personally, it really doesn't matter whether or not we have a piece of paper. I mean, there's legalities and certain benefits that come with a formal marriage, and sometimes it would be the best thing to do, but I don't think that it's necessarily required to have a formidable bond and to have a solid family structure.
Okay.
Yeah, my man's trying to protect his assets. Fire. That's what he's saying.
That's what I heard.
He's like, he's going to lawyer up hard. If some sort of legal piece of paper. I get it. I get it.
Two hot seat follow-up questions, and then we'll have closing thoughts, and then Wendell take us out.
Well, hold on. I want to speak to that. I'm not trying to protect my assets, because if you're in a solid relationship, there's no necessity for that, right? But what I'm saying is that marriage, here in the U.S. and certain other places, allows the benefit of taking of tax credits, right? It allows for insurance benefits for your children and for your spouse. So there's some nuances that marriages certainly provide in a legal structure.
It's very eloquent.
I want everybody to hear that. My man Win is a financial wizard, so that's why he just said it like he said it.
Don't tell everybody his business, so they can have young ladies in the DM.
Financial wizard, man.
Let's go back to Win, because he's on fire right now. So Win, hot seat question, bro. You just basically said these things. The thing that you're passionate about, marriage or committed relationships, because you can see the deterioration in our cultures, in our families, in our communities. That was something that was an obvious thing that gave you some, I don't know, passion to not continue that mold. You said that you actually get an elevated sense of self when you're in a relationship or a committed relationship with somebody. So here's the hot seat question, my good brother. Are you or are you not in a committed relationship? If not, what are you actively doing to get into one? So great. See, we can.
I think we're about to eject fire from the.
Listen,
bro,
y'all want to play? Y'all came to
on.
play.
Wait, no. We didn't come for this. Nobody signed up for this. Look, hey, listen, wait. Everybody that's watching this right now, hold on, wait, time out. Let me roast this guy right quick, okay? Let me roast this guy. Okay, like you know how you go to an interview, like and someone's like, "Hey, we want to interview you," and then they send you the list of questions right beforehand. This guy gets on live. We're actually live right now, okay? This isn't like being pre-recorded or something. This is like live. And he's like, hey, so tell me, hey, tell me everything that's going on in your personal life and your business. So I want to actually, give Win a pass and say, bro,
no, I'm good with the question.
Yeah,
but
I'm not. Hold on, I'm not. No.
So you get a pass.
Yeah, I wasn't even coming to you. I was going.
I'm trying to help my man. I'm trying to help my man out, Fire, because you're wrong. You're wrong, and you deserve to be roasted for that. Like when you get somebody on camera, you're supposed to get them a list of questions before you get on, man. You don't do my man like that, man.
We in the moment. I'm being present.
There is a noose being lowered right now above his head.
Can I get an answer today?
Yes.
Can I get an answer? God dang it, today.
So for me personally, and I'm gonna give my other two brothers a pass because they out of this. I'm gonna take the heat for myself.
Let's go, Win.
All right, word. So for me personally, I am not currently in a committed relationship that has been formalized. All right. What I have been doing over the last several years in specific is identifying what actually matters most to me. Because I have been dating, I think in a not in a crazy reckless manner, but a manner which is not necessarily been tremendously deliberate, intentional, and fully conscious. And so what I have done personally is to get a piece of paper, get a pen, and I have identified characteristics and attributes of a woman that actually matters most to me. And then a friend actually, I shared that with a friend, and they told me, I really brainstormed this. I mean, it took me a while to do it. And I shared it with a friend, like I said, and they challenged me to identify the top 5 attributes and characteristics that actually mattered most to me. And I did that, and that process was tremendously helpful to determine, what really mattered most to me, and to help me select my next person that I will be with.
You want to share what those 5 are?
I'll do that. That's no problem. The first thing is what really matters most to me more than anything is that woman is purposeful. And when I say purposeful, I mean that she her life is not about herself. She's absolutely selfless, but she is about community, and she does something in life that actually matters to the world. So not only is that something of substance for her, but it also will keep her busy and make an impact with other people. Women need to stay busy, just like men need to stay busy. No, seriously. And I think that, you know, particularly given what we're going through here in America and across the diaspora, we have to be a little bit more conscious and a bit more intentional about, you know, impacting our communities. And we've been so selfish. You know, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a hedge fund guy. You know, and it's all for ourselves. Where's the repair of our families? Where's the repair of our communities? Who's doing that? I don't want to be with somebody selfish. So purposeful is number one.
Got it.
Kindness is another one. We, particularly in our community these days, we're so nasty towards each other. We don't provide any grace or mercy for one another. We provide grace and mercy for everybody else, but not our spouses, not our kids, not our uncles, not our grandfathers, not our mothers, not our friends. And it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I want somebody that has humility, that's humble, that is very accomplished, but doesn't lead with their accomplishments. When we get education and when we get money, we're so arrogant and so nasty. Again, you know, I went to Harvard. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. The hell with you. We look down. We look down our noses at each other. We go to dinner and we disrespect the waitress and the waiter. We don't tip properly. You know, I was just watching a clip about the baby. Look how he disrespected his baby's mother. You know, I don't know what the situation was, but you know, it's horrible that we have these dynamics within our relationships. That should never be exposed on social media. 3-month-old baby with his mom being kicked out. So that's 3.
That's 3.
Fourth is that she's sensuous and feminine. There's nothing like a feminine woman, a sensuous woman. Women need to be feminine. Men need to be masculine. Men want peace in their lives. Women provide that peace. We are at war each and every day at our jobs and out there in the world trying to make things happen. Why should we come home to fight more? Home should be a refuge, a place of peace. We should have support. A woman should be the helpmeet to provide the support of the family. The man goes out and kills, but we don't want to fight at home. We don't want to be disrespected at home. That's the most ridiculous thing ever. And disrespect breeds disrespect. And here we go on the cycle. And we need to stop it. We need to knock it off. And the last thing is, what was the last thing? Hang on for a second. Let me take a look.
Yeah.
I can't remember offhand.
So feminine was third. What was the fourth one?
Yeah, hang on for a second. I'm gonna just pull up the document. I actually brainstormed this and scribbled it.
Get it. We
And
got time.
then over the last like I said, a couple of years, I wrote it down. I typed it out. Oh, wise. You know, a woman must be wise. You know, in the Bible, it talks about a wise woman. You know, if a man has had a hard day, you know, you want to make certain that you pay attention to his temperament, his demeanor, his disposition when he walks in the door. You don't just jump on his back and, you know, yell at him about X, Y, Z. You want to use wisdom. And you want to be consoling and considerate and careful, and try to make that temperament, that disposition that he has, you know, in a better way. You know, so a woman must be wise in her decision making and in how she speaks, her tonality. You know, in the Bible it says life and death is in the power of the tongue. Look how we're using our tongues these days. We're killing each other with the tongue. There's, you know, women have a capacity to do more violence using their tongues than we could do, you know, in a physical manner. And they wonder why domestic violence is high. Now, I'm not making any excuses for men to do that, but, you know, women, please be wise with your tongues. Be wise with your thinking, and think about the outcome that you want, the peace that you want. Think about your kids, the family that you want. I mean, we just have to be more conscious and more aware about what we're doing and how we're doing to get the results that we want. If we were in corporate America, or if we were at our jobs, we would not be acting a fool like we acting at home. It's crazy. Now, I get that you're frustrated at the job, and maybe the only avenue that you perceive that you can take it out might be at home. But consider this. When you're at a job, you're only going to be there a month to a couple of years these days. Your spouse is intended for you to be together forever. You're impacting your kids. And so how you speak and how you treat each other, how you behave is going to matter for years and years and years and years. So you guys think about that. And I'm not just jumping on the women. I'm jumping on everybody. How we acting and behaving and speaking is just totally ridiculous. And so I'll park it right there because I said enough.
Wow. I mean, you know, so, I mean, what you said is so profound. And that's where this is a beautiful way to like start to wrap up, because that's where I was really looking to drive the conversation, is there. And I brought up everything, you know, around arranged marriages and everything I brought up to begin to drive the conversation in that direction, to get there where you parked, where you landed your plane. And not to say that everyone should be in an arranged marriage, but to look and say, huh, what works about it to give me, this is really great, the outcome, the behaviors, the ways of being within the confines of a relationship that Wynn just described. That was beautiful. I mean, I could not have imagined saying it any differently, any better, whatever. That was beautiful, 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 beautiful. And that is why I wanted to title this like, "Are we dating by chance?" Because there's not a lot of intentionality in chance. There's a lot of hope in chance, but there's not a lot of knowing. And that's what I mean by intentionality. You're very intentional. Human beings are very intentional about things that they know. They're not very intentional about hope at all. And just to really exist in a space where you have vetted the person in whatever way that happens, more than just income, more than just how this person look. You've really taken the time to vet that person. You really taken the time to look and see whether or not you're a match. You've really taken the time to do the work on yourself. Because what we have to get in everything that Wynn is saying is that you, within your marriage, within your relationships, you have to be the space for that to exist. If you're not the space for that to exist, it's turmoil. Period. And that's where the wisdom comes into play, being wise. That lends the space for whatever needs to exist in order to have something successful. It's not to say that life won't happen. Life happens. But what can we do to reduce the impact of life happening? And what Wynn talked about, those are ways to reduce the impact of life happening. Instead of being at the mercy of life. And it's just too often we walk through life at the mercy of life. We walk through relationships. We walk through marriages at the mercy of that thing. With little to no intentionality, but with a lot of hope. And instead of existing like in what we know and knowing. So yeah, I wanna just this was just phenomenal. I mean, I don't have much more to say about when that was more what's beyond a mic drop. Oh, like what's the guy? Sexual Chocolate. I'm coming to America.
Ooh,
That's the ultimate mic drop.
I say we cancel the recap because some things don't need to be touched, right? And before we do that, I just want to look at you, Wynn, and acknowledge you, bro, because oftentimes our conversations get intellectual and fact-based, statistics-based, and those things add value to people because it's new information. But it's a spiritual moment when people speak out of the consciousness and the essence of their being. And what you just did, you were in a zone, you were in a flow, almost in a channeling type of state. I felt you. And so what I felt and what I experienced in your speaking is far more transformative than any facts or stats could potentially be. Even sitting here as a married man, it just reaffirmed my commitment in that there's no greater calling than to be for me as a man than to be Courtney's husband, to be Alexis, Amani, Aaron Malik, and Aubrey's dad. Like, it's the highest calling. It is, it gives me access to being the best version of myself and the highest version of myself, without which I don't think I could have obtained, or I can even be on the journey to obtain, unless I was some sort of servant at the level of humanity. So I just want to acknowledge you, my brother. Thank you for your vulnerability and your sharing. That was very rich and courageous.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah, what you got, Water?
Yeah, I agree. We have a lot of conversations offline for the people who are watching this, and I mean that was something special from when we can't get this guy to do this just with us three on the phone with him. So for him to do this in front of you all, it was very special and it was very profound. So I also want to acknowledge you, bro, for just opening up your heart. And we talked about this last week. You pulled the armor back, and I really have to acknowledge you for that, because I can tell you that I have the controls for the show, and I was about to, remove fire from the show. Like when he asked that question, I gotta be honest, man. He thinks I'm joking. all your little fans on Facebook, I see y'all in the comments. Like, look, I would have ejected y'all with him. But Win really brought it, and I think that you are you deserve acknowledgement for that. The comments are blowing up with just acknowledging you for it. So thank you for adding that richness to the show, because I don't think there's any way that we could have capped off the show any better than that. Anyone else have any closing comments? Because I'm going to wrap it up. I have the next show topic, and I'm hosting next week or whatnot. So
yeah, I'm just going to say this is that, I mean, that's the reason why we came together to do this, so we can make an impact on
Take your time, bro. We here with you.
so we can make an impact on our community. So this is real. This is serious. We just need to do better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line.
Wow.
From the heart, baby. I love it. This is a new way. Hey, everybody. You are watching like the metamorphosis of a new human being. My man, I'm so proud of you, bro. I mean, we have never seen it. As a matter of fact, let me put some context to this for everyone watching right now. Like, us four have known each other for over a decade. Okay, we met in a seminar over a decade ago, and I mean, this is as vulnerable as we've ever seen Wind. And I mean, I gotta say, bro, like, I am like, I'm proud of you, bro. Like, you are opening your heart to the whole world. I mean, this is live for the world to see, man. And it's just amazing to see you transform like that, bro.
Yeah, and I want to commend you also. And it's like you exhibit, and I want everybody to get this. There's a difference between being able to operate out of your nature, meaning who you were born into this world as, your true nature, the essence of you, as opposed to operating out of your nurturing, which is who someone said you are, who you've literally made yourself out to be. And I just want everybody to really get what you just witnessed. That's nature. Nature is to see someone operate out of their nature is the epitome of truth, period. And it is undeniable. It is totally undeniable. You cannot refute it. You can't oppose it. Nothing. It will literally touch you in the depths of your soul. because I literally felt you while you were speaking. About midway through, like I started getting emotional. I was like, let me gather myself, because I could feel your nature. That's the essence of who you are. And when you're able to do that, you're able to fulfill your purpose. You're able to impact the world in a way that you were born into this lifetime to impact the world. That's undeniable, bruh. I mean, what you gave us tonight is truth, the epitome of truth. It is undeniable. And I want to commend you for that. That was hot. That was hot.
And this is what the elements bring to the manosphere. This is what the elements bring to the internet. And we want to spread this, right? So if you're watching this, like, we want to spread this to the rest of the world. I mean, look, go on. So if you don't believe me, go on social media, go on TikTok, like, see what gets the most likes. It's always something that's just like, I mean, it's something silly, right? It's something that makes you laugh. It's something that is something that I guess you can call it nonsense, if you will. And not enough people as a group are coming together to actually put something together that's more than just foolishness. I mean, we're talking about coming to help people transform their lives and become the person that you actually say that you want to be. And that's not easy. Sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes it doesn't always go like in a straight line. You know, it goes like all zigzagging around or whatnot. And, you know, that's what you're witnessing right now. So I just want everybody to really get that. This is what we need more of. Like, we need more of people just actually saying, hey, this is who I really am. This is who I really want to be. And then make the actual, do the work to actually be that. And I feel like Wind actually is doing the work right now. He didn't do it tonight. He's doing it literally at this very moment. So again, I just want to acknowledge you, bro. And I love you, bro. Like, pure love coming out your heart tonight, man. I was like, woohoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
We love you, bro.
You spoke for a lot of people. I mean, because I would argue that the majority of us are sick and tired of where we are and don't have the voice, don't have the capacity to allow themselves to be vulnerable enough to say, I am sick and tired of this. And you languaged it so beautifully. You didn't just say we need to do better. Like, you laid it out. You gave language to how people feel. And you have to get some, like, that's the most difficult thing to do, is to give language to an emotion, like what's really there. To give that language, because the language is the thing that gives it life. And you just created life. You created like a whole new context. This was beautiful. I mean, this is what the elements are about. Period.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. And just, I just want to thank everybody, all of the folks who are listening, and the other elements, for like creating the space for vulnerability. You can't be vulnerable in a space where there's nothing there that lends you, that gives you permission to be vulnerable. And we have to really get that. So I just want to thank everybody, period. Everyone who's listening, and the elements for just creating the context, creating the space for vulnerability today, period. And it was all sparked. This was everything is intentional. You know, it was all sparked, you know, when Fire asked that question. And I'm sure there were some things that led up to it. And that opened the door for us to go down this particular road. and this ties everything up for this conversation. That was beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I think we should leave it there. Like this is a great place to I mean, I'm complete with this conversation. I don't know about
Yeah.
you guys. If you want to add something, go ahead.
I just want to you, Water. I know we joke around a lot, and people don't know when Water's jokes begin and where they end.
I don't either. I can be honest.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. But one thing that I can promise you, my brothers, Earth, Water, and Wind, and I can promise the elementals is that whenever I get something, whenever I'm given something in the moment, I'm going to share it. It may make any of you uncomfortable. Hell, it might make me uncomfortable, my darn self. It may make the listeners and viewers uncomfortable or go, ooh, let me go get my popcorn. I can promise you that it is not for entertainment purposes, and it is 1000% obedience. If it's given to me, I'm giving it. And no one's exempt from that process. So keep tuning in. You're gonna get more of that. Water, take us out, man. Tee up the next show.
So I think just to translate what Fire just said, he actually wants to test to see if I actually have the button to eject him off the show. So yes, please, everyone. We might actually transform this whole elements thing into something where it's like, you know what, we do have some entertaining stuff for people to watch. Where it's like, oh, here's some drama. So yeah, but no, it definitely is welcome, and I think that Fire, you're the one who sparked that whole moment that we just had. So, hey man, it was great. Speaking of the way that this conversation had evolved, next week I will be hosting, and the topic for the show will be: are you living a life that is aligned with your dreams?
Ooh.
So I want everybody I want all of our regular listeners to, really look at your life this week, right? Between now and our next show next Wednesday, and just look, is your life aligned with your dreams? And is the life that you're living right now, is it aligned? So we will be back next week. Listen, right here, these are all of our social media handles. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're everywhere. And if you have questions, shoot us an email. Our email is up there as well. And soon we will also be on Spotify and Apple podcasts and all that good stuff. So you can just listen to the audio version for anybody who's traveling in your car. People who don't work remote and you're still commuting or whatnot, you can just catch it there. So these are the elements. We're taking it out. I'm Water.
Wind.
Fire.
Earth.
And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Peace and love.
Peace.